Hi, I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J Moore Living. If this is your first time, let me fill you in a little bit. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. We welcome your comments and questions, and you will see me look to the side to my computer from time to time. So please feel free to send in the questions, and I will be checking on a regular basis. Now, today's guest is a writer, director, cinematographer, editor of the movie Arrangiarsi, Pizza and the Art of Living, a nonfiction narrative by Matteo Troncone. The LA Times said the movie's energy, vivid scenery, and pizza porn keep us watching. Let's welcome today's most interesting man in the world. His passport requires no photograph. Buongiorno, Matteo.
Buongiorno, Dara. Grazie. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. So where are we finding you this AM?
You are finding me this AM in the Mojave Desert, of all places. I've been living here for the last 6, 7 months.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were out in California, but
the Mojave is actually in California. It's a very long stretch. It's a long stretch of desert. It's very expansive. So yes, it goes from just northeast of Los Angeles, actually all the way out to the Nevada border near Death Valley.
See, you learn something every day. Well, it's a far cry from Napoli, Italy. Let me jump right into this right now. Let's flash back to 2008, 2009, I believe. It is Napoli, and you took your first bite of a true Neapolitan pizza, a monumental moment that set you on an odyssey that has had a profound effect on your life. What was the first bite like?
I remember my friend and I, Paola, we were driving into Napoli. I had been there once before, but really had never experienced the pizza like this particular time. So we were driving into Napoli and I was driving, and of course I got us lost. So we just ended up pulling over. We were hungry and we just asked these people the very famous question, Scusi, dove possiamo trovare una buona pizzeria? Where can I find a really good pizzeria? And they said, oh, go here. So we went there, and I remember my friend, when she had never been to Naples before, she had never had the pizza, and she's now a sommelier actually. And when she had the first bite of the pizza, she literally went, like this. I never forget the expression. She was like that, and yeah, it was an epiphany. Quite frankly, it was astounding. What have I been eating my whole life? That's what I thought. I've never had pizza before in my entire life until this moment.
Well, people learned about Neapolitan pizza. What brought it to light was Eat, Pray, Love. She talked about it. And then someone we both know, Daniel Young, who wrote the compendium or compiled the compendium of Where to Eat Pizza, and literally loves the pizzas in Naples and does food tours in Naples of the pizza. And Daniel said pizza is only as good as the crust. What do you say?
I would agree. It's the base. It's the mother. It's the thing that holds very few ingredients. In fact, the crust is treated as is just as important of an ingredient as the tomatoes, the San Marzano, as the olive oil, as the buffalo mozzarella, certainly. So yes, it's very, very challenging to get the crust Neapolitan style. You have to have a very, very hot oven, usually 850 to 900 degrees. The really good pizzerias in Naples typically have their dough rising anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. It's a very important process, and the moisture, the humidity, the water content, all of these things are really, really important in making a good pasta dough. They call it the pasta dough, the pasta just means paste. So it's this mother paste. Not to mention the starters that they're using. They're not using packaged yeast at all. The really good places, they have starters. So it's crucially important to have a really good uh, pasta dough, really good paste, because in a Neapolitan pizza, typically it's completely cooked. It usually has char marks on the cornicione, on the crust. They call it in English. It will be moist. It will be tender. It will be fluffy and light. And in the center, it will actually be wet. It's it's really, really hard to get that. And one of the most important things a pizzaiolo can do when they're making the paste, the pasta dough, is to get an incredible amount of oxygen inside that dough. You have to have a very good fermentation process. And then when the dough is ready and they're slapping it out, they actually call it the slap, the schiaffo. The job of the pizzaiolo is to get all the oxygen in that dough on the outside of the disc, and this is what. And then when that oxygen hits a very, very hot oven, it explodes, and this explosion causes the crust to get very, very high, but also remain moist, remain tender and fluffy, all at the same time, and having charred marks on the outside, like a patina. It's crazy. So that this was the inspiration for my whole film. This is incredible. These people are not only crafts people, they're artists. They're magicians.
Well, does spinning it do anything for a pizza other than stretch it out?
No, no. Most really good pizzaioli, they actually do spin their dough, but just for show. But it doesn't do anything. In fact, a good pizzaiolo, you don't want to handle the dough too much. Just like with bread making, it'll get tough. So basically, the job is just to get, as I said before, the oxygen on the outside of the crust and to slap it out with the schiaffo, and then to stretch it very tenderly, and then you put your very light ingredients on it, and then boom, you're done. You put it on the peel, you stretch it onto the peel, and in it goes for maximum, by law, maximum 90 seconds. Actually, most really good pizzas are cooked only a minute, if you can believe that.
I understand that. I already have a comment. It says, sounds like my pizza dough without a not hot enough oven and all the right ingredients that may not be regularly available in supermarkets will never be as good as what my imagination hopes. Sigh.
Well, there's always an Napoli. I invite everyone to go there, not only to experience the pizza, which is out of this world, but also each individual ingredient of that pizza, but also the culture of Napoli. It's an absolutely fascinating and vibrant and chaotic and crazy and sexy and almost unlivable place, but it's so beautiful too. But yes, you have to have a very hot oven. That it really is the key, is having the hot oven. Because if you have an electric oven or a gas oven that's, say, 400 to 600 degrees, once you put that pizza disc, once you put the pizza in the oven, it's not going to have that chemical explosion with the oxygen from the fermentation process. It's not going to explode. You're going to have to cook it longer, and that's going to dry out the entire pizza. It's going to make it more of a cracker. The Neapolitans joke, they say, we make pizza, the Romans, they make crackers. Because the Roman oven is much lower in temperature, and so they cook it more.
It's a crispy thin crust.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And typically, as when Neapolitan pizza was kind of brought over to New York, but also pizza in general, if you don't have a hot oven, if you don't have a wood burning oven, you're going to have to make more of a cracker. You're going to have a more of a baked situation. And that's where people start piling on toppings, which is antithetical to Neapolitan pizza, actually. Simple is always better with Neapolitan pizza.
Right. It's the marguerite, the tomatoes, the fresh tomatoes. And let's talk about it. Everything about the components in your movie. You talk about the flour and the grains. You talk about the cheese. talk about the tomatoes, the olive oil, which we're going to get back to because that's how I found you. But the cheese. Let's look at some of these components right now. The cheese there, the buffalo mozzarella, and then there's the cow milk mozzarella too. And the cow milk is not as tasty. At least that's what somebody else said.
I would agree, actually. Yeah. The cow's milk is called fior di latte, which means the flower of milk. And that is from a regular cow, as we know, bovines. And that is ubiquitously used in Naples and especially used in the rest of Italy. But the mozzarella di bufala, the buffalo mozzarella, which I happen to much prefer, yes, it's about an 11% fat content. So it's really tasty, and it's the challenge with using a buffalo mozzarella on a pizza is it has a higher water content, so it makes the pizza more wet. It's a bit more challenging for the fornaio, the baker, to get that pizza dialed in. One of the techniques that a really good fornaio uses actually when they're cooking a Neapolitan pizza, again in only 60 to 90 seconds, is they often put the pizza peel over the top of the pizza, and this allows the base of the pizza and the crust to cook, but it shields the toppings like the cheese and certain other things, the basil, from getting overcooked. It's this fine dance that they're doing. So, and also just to add, with a wood burning oven, as opposed to an electric oven, you're getting three types of heat. You're getting the heat from the base of that tufa stone.
Okay.
You're getting a convection. You're getting this crazy swirling heat from the fire, which is very chaotic and unpredictable. And then, of course, you're getting the actual heat from the coals and the fire that's in the oven. So that's three types of heat compared to an electric oven where the heat is just static. And so you have to bake it for a long time and dry it out and make a cracker.
Okay, so cracker's a bad word, and so is lamp oil.
I actually really like Roman pizza as well. So yeah.
I like it as well. I have another question. I've heard that La Antica Pizzeria di Michele makes some of the best pizzas around. Have you had them? Do you agree?
Da Michele, yeah, it's the pizzeria that you had mentioned that's written about by Elizabeth Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love. And yes, that was one of the first places I went to, and I've eaten there. I actually filmed there for this film. That footage ended up on the cutting room floor. They have a very unique, or as they say in Italian, a particolare, a very particular way of making their pizza. At the original Da Michele, they only make two types of pizza. They make the margherita, and which represents the colors of the Italian flag, and then they make the marinara, which is essentially a vegan pizza. It doesn't have any cheese. And then they only make those two, and then they sell beer. I think they might have wine and Coca-Cola, and that's it. So that's all you get, and there's always a line out the door. It's one of the other things that they do is use soybean oil rather than olive oil, which I don't particularly care for a variety of reasons. I don't like the taste, I don't like the greasiness, and soybean oil is actually inflammatory. It's acidic. It's highly inflammatory, especially for sensitive folks like me. So but the other thing about Da Michele's pizza that I would say is it's extremely wet. It's almost a soup. It's pretty flat too, and it's enormous. It hangs over the edges of the plate. I mean, it's absolutely enormous, and I think it's like €4. I mean, it's crazy. They also don't use buffalo mozzarella. They only have fior di latte, which is another reason why it's not my favorite place. But people love it, and it's got a huge following. Huge, huge.
Huge. All right, so we talked a little bit of cheese, tomatoes. One of the things in watching your film, and let me remind people, the film, and you can find out about it, a lot of his, Matteo's information will be up here and on jmoreliving.com. But the film you want to learn more is pizzaandtheartofliving.com. And actually, you can order it from the site, and you are streaming it for whatever you want to pay, about $5, something like that.
It's pay what you want. We just changed it. It's pay what you want, name your price. I think my webmaster has set a minimum of 50 cents to see the film, and I think he put suggested $5, but you could, yeah, whatever you want. I just really want people to see this film because I think it's really funny and it's entertaining, but it's also light and inspiring, and there's some history and depth to it as well.
It
So,
is, I have to say, I was watching it, it froze up on my computer, then I went to my laptop. I've been having a problem, and I got 2/3 of the way through and it froze up. But I really enjoyed it. One of the things, we're talking about tomatoes, that, when the explorers brought tomatoes from the Americas to Italy, that the San Marzino tomato was yellow.
all tomatoes, actually, all tomatoes were originally yellow, all of them. That's the original color. And when they brought these tomatoes, yes, around the time of Christopher Colombo, who
Columbus.
Columbus, yes, they were yellow. And then when they brought them over to Italy and Italy's climate, they had a mutation and they became red. In fact, the San Marzano in particular had a genetic mutation about 200 years ago, and now it's very weird shaped, and it's the absolute perfect tomato for a Neapolitan pizza. One of the reasons is it has a very, very low seed content, and it also has a low acidity level. I've eaten the San Marzano tomatoes raw and put them in salads, and to me they're nothing. They're like wax. It's not very enjoyable, but there's something magical that happens when you cook them, even for 60 to 90 seconds in a very hot oven. They become incredibly sweet and incredibly creamy and really beautiful. And having a low seed content and actually them taking away the skin of the tomato actually makes it more healthy as well, because the lectins that some people have issues digesting, nightshades and things like that. Those are in the skin of the tomato and in the
Right.
seeds. So,
Well, a lot of what we've talked about, the wheat, the tomatoes, the cheese, the grass that the cows eat, the buffaloes eat, all pertains, and some of the unique things is the black soil. And when you ask them in Naples, is it the water? And there is a special mineral count to your water. So I throw this back to you. I'm going to adjust the camera here.
there is indeed. Come to find out, in my film, I actually, throughout this journey of making this film, which was an 8-year process, and I went to Naples 9 times to complete the movie. During this journey, I would hear, "It's the water, it's the water," especially among the local restaurateurs, the people who are not in the restaurant industry. They would always say the water is magic. It's the same thing for the coffee in Naples. Naples has arguably the greatest coffee in Italy, if not the rest of the world. And they always say it's the water. And in fact, so for my film, I actually took samples of the water of Naples from different sources, from a coffee shop, my favorite cafe, Chalet de Ciro, and also the pizzeria where I filmed, Starita. I got their water. I got water from a fountain, etc. And I brought it back and I had it analyzed by this water expert that I just happened to meet on an airplane. I was sitting next to
Right.
this guy, and come to find out, well, you have to watch the film, but the water is indeed very, very special. And most people consider the water to be an ingredient as well. And one of the reasons is the water is really, really hard. It's incredibly hard. I mean, you could go through a whole bottle of shampoo in one sitting and still not get a lather because the water is so hard. But most pizzaioli, most pizza makers will say the water, no, it's all about my skill. It's all about my technique, which I would say is much more important than the water. But to me, everything matters.
All right. Off the subject for a second, because I like to do these kinds of things. What is the best or the worst or both pieces of advice you received? Best or worst or both?
Wow. Well, certainly the worst piece of advice in the making of this film, I would say I had tons of people. In fact, most people discouraged me from making the film in the first place. Most people said, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to make a film. You don't have a crew. How are you going to do this? Why are you doing this? You're throwing away, your life, your money, your time, your energy. So that was right there. That was a bad piece of advice. But I had this inkling, I had this feeling that no, I have to make this movie and I have to have this journey. So right there was a bad piece of advice because I was just following what I was inspired with. I was following what I was curious about. And then during the making of the film, especially the editing, people told me, oh my God, why do you have a dog montage in your movie? You have to cut that. I don't know if you were able to get to the dog montage, but
I cut to the dog montage.
people,
lovely.
and during the screenings of the film, that was often one of their favorite moments was this crazy dog montage. And there were a variety of other things in the film that people said, you have to cut that, you can't talk about this. And so it really forced me to dig down deep into my own internal guidance and to listen to myself, because I was the person who was channeling the film, or the inspiration came through me. So I might as well do it that way because it knew rather than somebody from a studio, in Hollywood saying no. So that was pretty bad advice. And it was also good. The best advice with making the film was, early on, people started looking at my footage. A friend of mine who works at ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, at George Lucas's place in Marin County, and she said, "Dude, you're living this movie. You are living this movie. You need to put yourself in it. You need to start really filming yourself and the whole journey of making the film at the same time, and have that as a through line as well." And my friend in Napoli, who I stayed with many, many times, said, you have to sacrifice yourself for this movie. And I know it's not going to be easy, but you need to be in it. So that was good advice.
You did what people don't realize, that you were living when you were in California, where the Mojave Desert is. When you're living in California, you had 9 trips to Naples. When you were living in a VW bus. And there's a scene where there's ice on the window and you're like this. There was no home. You were the vagabond. You were nomad land. When you were in Italy, you were living in a tent upstairs from a school. You totally sacrificed yourself. And there were different barriers, and henceforth the barriers came the word somebody advised you, and I know I'm not pronouncing it right, Arrangiarsi. Why don't you explain people what Arrangiarsi is?
Arrangiarsi.
Arrangiarsi.
Brava. Very, very good. Yeah, in Italian, they don't have the letter J in the alphabet in Italian. So to make the J sound like Arrangiarsi or Giovanni, they use the GI. So anytime you see a GI, it's J, like Giovanni. It's not Giovanni, it's Giovanni. Enough with the Italian lesson. What was the question? No. Yes, Arrangiarsi is the art of, well, it's often defined as the art of making do or the art of getting by. However, my favorite definitions are the art of overcoming an obstacle, the art of making something from nothing, and the art of being resourceful. That's really what it is. It's the art of MacGyvering. When you're in a situation and your car's broken down in the Mojave Desert, which just happens to be in California, or
I'm never going to live that.
No. It goes into Nevada too, so you're off the hook. But when you're in a situation and you don't have the proper tools to really get yourself out of the situation, including money, if you don't have money, you have to be creative and find a way to get out of the situation. And oftentimes you find yourself becoming very successful in a way that you could never have imagined that if you just threw money at the problem. So that's what Arrangiarsi is. And I realized very quickly on that the Neapolitans are known worldwide as being the best pizza makers, but they're also known in all of Italy as being the masters of Arrangiarsi. They're the masters of this because Italy, Naples in Italy has had such a long history of violence in the South and oppression and kind of subjugation. And Naples used to be a very opulent, very, very beautiful and very, yeah, I'd say opulent place. It always had poverty, but when they unified Italy, Naples became they became second-class city, if not a third. And so people had to become very, very resourceful on how to get by. So this is why the film is called that, because I was arranging myself. I was practicing Arrangiarsi the entire time of making the film, living in a van, living in a tent. But even just how I was able to get interviews and certain things.
A lot of serendipity. You talked about the historian Pino Aprillo.
Pino Aprile, yeah.
Aprile.
Yeah.
Can't read my own handwriting.
Aprile is April, means April, actually.
Right.
Giuseppe, yeah. Yes, Pino Aprile, how I met him was crazy. He's the historian in the film, the historian. And, the film I wanted to keep light. I wanted to keep it moving, and I didn't want it to be a History Channel documentary with a lot of talking heads. However, Pino Aprile does have an interview in the film talking about the history of Naples and why it became so poor. And one of the reasons why I had that is because of obviously of Arrangiarsi, but also pizza is known all over the world as a poor food. It's a street food. It's one of the original street foods. And so my question really to myself was, well, if Naples wasn't so poor, if they weren't masters of Arrangiarsi, would pizza even exist in the form that we know it? So that's why that history is in there. But how I met Pino Aprile was complete serendipity. I mean, I heard this voice. They said, go have a pizza. I said, no, I don't want to go over there. And they said, no, go have a pizza at this place. And I said, it's across town. I'm talking to this crazy voice in my head. So I go across the town, Naples, with all my equipment. And the pizzeria isn't open yet. So I'm waiting outside the pizzeria for them to open, about 20 minutes. And out walks this very beautiful, very elegantly dressed man who has a tailor shop right next to the pizzeria. And I just look at him and I thought, oh my God, he's so beautifully dressed. And I said, you are so beautiful today. Oh my God. And he said, if you want to look beautiful like me, come inside my shop. So I said, why not? I was like, I'm open. I have nothing to do. This will be fun. And it's kind of fun being a stranger. It's kind of fun being a foreigner who could speak the language. So I went into this guy's shop. We ended up talking. I was in there for a couple of hours. And he asked about my film, and I was telling him what I was doing. And he said, do you happen to know of this guy, Pino Aprile? And I said, yeah, I've been trying to get an interview with him for 3 years. And he said, oh, well, let's call him. He's a good friend of mine. So that's how I met Pino Aprile. And 2 weeks later, he was in my film. So
there's so much that I can talk about, but let me when I interview people, I do some digging through the internet. We know how trustworthy some of the information is, but in the videos that I found that you were involved in the things that you were telling truths. And you had a commitment to the people that you meet to treat them with respect, whether the street person, the clown, or whatever. Everybody had your respect. And in many ways, and you got a kick out of this, you've reminded me of Anthony Bourdain and his truths and how he treated people and what he enjoyed being involved with the food and the people and the culture. So all I can say is you're Anthony Bourdainish. You got a kick out of that. I know. You sent me a note. Didn't you say that there's a quote that you like of his?
Oh yeah, and I
Write
forgot
it
to look
down.
it up. I actually had it. I think it is good food is often, but most often, simple food. And
Yeah,
that's,
that
to me, that explains a Neapolitan pizza. The simpler, the better. My favorite pizza is a marinara. It doesn't even have cheese. And then the margarita, which I usually get with buffalo mozzarella, it's has this incredible balance to it. It's not being overpowered by the cheese. It's not a casserole, like you might find in Chicago. It's got this beautiful balance, this dance between this interplay between the crust, as we talked about, the sweetness and a slight tanginess of the tomatoes, and then the cheese, and then the basil, and of course the olive oil. For me, it's like I said, it was an epiphany that they could make something so simple and so elegant and so beautiful and so flavorful. And it really does come down to not only the art of how you're putting the pizza together, but also certainly each individual ingredient making up the whole. They're top notch. The best pizzerias are still using really, really high ingredients.
brings me to olive oil, lamp oil. And I want to tell people that Matteo has 3 YouTube videos, which there'll be a link, you'll be able to find it, on olive oil. He says olive oil and he says lamp oil. And what's the difference? Quick note on that from you.
A quick note. Well, as I learned, and as you will see in the film, I filmed the olive harvest in Chianti. And what I learned it's a beautiful ranch called Pornanino. It's in Tuscany, in Chianti. And what I learned throughout this process is that over 80% of all olive oil in the entire world is actually what they call lamp oil. Lamp oil is oil that is generally made by big agribusinesses. It's the big name brands, and it contains no medicinal properties whatsoever. Lamp oil is dead. It is chemically refined. They're using heat extraction, chemical refinement, and it is deodorized. And in most cases, they're using artificial color and artificial flavoring. And the reason is they have ranches all over the world that have 10 million trees at one ranch, so they can't spend the labor. They don't want to spend the time and the labor and the money to harvest these olives. So what they do, lamp oil producers, is they let the olives get rotten and fall off the tree. They're now on the ground, rotting, rancid with bugs and dirt. And then they have these machines that come and vacuum clean the olives. And then this olive is rancid, and when they chemically refine it, because it's so rancid, they have to deodorize it chemically as well, and reach what they call a neutral greasy fluid, just basically a base.
So appetizing.
That's what they call it. And this is all your big name brands, I guarantee you. And a lot of, most of the olive oil at Trader Joe's is absolute rubbish. And any other store, there's going to be lamp oil, including Whole Foods. Their brand 365 brand is absolute garbage. Anything that says Mediterranean blend, stay away from. Anything that says packed in Italy, stay away from, because they're sourcing rancid rotten olives from all over the Mediterranean. They don't know the source of them. They don't know the acidity level, etc. They combine them all together, and then they have to deodorize them. But it's this sexy, elegant thing called Mediterranean blend. No, it's rubbish. And this, as I said, makes up over 80% of all the olive oil in the world. So it's really important. And in the videos, I show people what to avoid and what to look for to get a really medicinal, healthy olive oil.
And I know the number 3, you said that there was one that you found at Costco that surprised you.
Shockingly good. Most of the oil at Costco is absolute rubbish. It's garbage. It's horrible. It's the worst of the worst chemically refined. It'll even say refined. However, there is one right now and it's just happens to be from Tuscany, of course. It's called the Toscano, and it's in the video. It's just a quick 4-minute video, and it's really, really wonderful oil. And one of the reasons is because in Tuscany they're using a blend of 4 different types of varietals, but also this particular oil is what they call PGI. It's a protected geographical indication. That means that this region of Tuscany is specifically designated and protected to grow these olives, which is a very good indication that the oil is high quality. And this stuff is a steal for $14 a liter. I mean, a complete steal. So it's quite good. But
I'm going to direct people, look for it, because you're going to be really informed and you're going to be really disgusted at what you've been putting on your food, calling olive oil. But, consider yourself educated like me.
Well,
the desert is in California.
Well, no, I mean, olive oil is fresh fruit juice. It should be very fresh. It should taste green, grassy. It should be spicy and peppery on the finish. Oftentimes it has hints of almonds or artichokes or lemon or some crazy things like that.
Whatever grows near it at the time.
Yeah, yeah. And even like a wine, even the terroir of the olive ranch of that particular place, like in Tuscany in this instance, it's very different from an olive oil in Liguria or an olive oil in the south in Puglia. Their olive oils are really bold and robust and strong and heavy sometimes, which is wonderful. Sometimes the olive oils in Trieste in the northern eastern part of Italy, I find incredibly wonderful, but also bitter, really bitter, which I happen to love with certain foods. Like I like that on broccoli. I think that would be great. So.
All right, I can continue talking, but we'll go to my questions, and maybe if you feel like it, you'll come on another day and we'll get a little bit more involved in another subject. Remind people the information will float up here and on jmoreliving.com as well. But in order to reach Matteo, website pizza and theartofliving.com. Now, my 2 final questions, and you're prepared, I hope. What was your most epic culinary fail? Now, I remember that your father was a baker, so I didn't know if you ever got involved with that, but what was your most epic culinary fail?
It was actually fairly recently. When my van, which is a character in the film, when I was driving to a screening in San Diego, the van blew up. It broke down in this place called San Luis Obispo, which is in the central coast of California. And I was driving a rental car looking for a place to eat. And from the rental car, I saw this pizzeria and I saw the oven from afar. And I'm like, oh my God, they have a Stefano Ferrara. And my friend is like, what are you talking about? I'm like, these people have a $15,000 Stefano Ferrara oven. We are going there. What is it doing in this tiny little town? So we went there, had the best pizza for me in all of California, Neapolitan style. One of the best is at this place called the Flower House in Slow in San Luis Obispo. I became friends with them. We did a couple screenings together, and they invited me back to make a pizza in back where the oven is. And so the epic culinary fail was, not only was my pizza lopsided and cooked on one side and raw on the other side, because you have to continually turn the pizza, but my first one actually ended up on the floor. It's true. I mean, because you have the pizza peel, that long peel, and you have to be very careful because the end of the peel can hit something. And of course, I banged the end of the peel, the back end of the peel, and then when I was putting in the oven, it just fell on the floor. So it was pretty humiliating.
You're a designated eater, not a maker. That's what it came out to. Indeed. And what haven't I asked you that I should have?
Oh my God. I don't like to should on people.
Don't like to what?
I don't want to should on you. I don't want to tell people. Well, wow, that
The
is,
floor is yours because, we try to keep it around 30, 40 minutes. So
well,
there's plenty to tell about you, but what would you like people to know before tuning out?
I again I just want people to experience this film. It's the people who have seen it. And I toured this film around the country actually in my van. I had a tour up until COVID hit, where I was literally driving the van from theater to theater, screening the film, and the response has been tremendous. Not just amongst foodies, but amongst people who love Italy, but and just there's actually been a kind of a contingent, a kind of a fan base of spiritual people who have really loved the film because basically one of the questions that I asked myself, and it was kind of the central question of the film, was: is this guy going to learn how to live? Me, am I going to learn how to arrange myself and become a master of Arrangiarsi? But the other question was: is the universe friendly? Because this film was essentially a faith walk. I mean, I made it with no money. Anytime I would have any money, I would put it right back into the film. I would go over to Naples, film for a month, or in one case, 3 months I was there. I would come back completely broke, and I would come back to living in a van, which I did for 5 years to make the film. So, but what I did discover was, yes, the answer to that question is yes, the universe is indeed friendly. And the people of Naples were so incredibly friendly to me. And that's why it was easy to be Bourdainish, or like Anthony Bourdain, because I felt so welcomed and so people. I mean, I remember riding my bicycle to go film at a lake, and I stopped, I think, to get some water, and I met this guy on the street, and we talked for maybe 15 minutes, and he invited me to stay at his house, like to live at his house. And this is Napoli. It's a very friendly place, and it's also has a bad rap because of the mafia, the Camorra, and because of there is a little bit of crime there, but not more than any other major city at all. But what really struck me was the friendliness and the openness and the hospitality of the Neapolitans. The Neapolitan hospitality is, they say, borrowed or taken from the Romans and the Greeks. Hospitality is a sacred thing to give somebody, and from the Bedouins, from the Arab culture as well. And this is Naples, so it was easy, or in a sense, to be a foreigner, a stranger in this land, and be open to serendipity because I had really nothing to lose. How's that?
Just what I thought you would say.
Really?
Really? No, I've just, I find everything about this and your endeavor and your faith walk, as you call it, just makes you the most interesting man in the world. I want to thank you. We'll get together some other time, and I have a couple of things to wrap up on. And thank you. Hopefully, you'll come back on the show, and we'll just delve into olive oil at that time.
It would be my pleasure, Dara. Yeah.
You know what? I forgot to ask you. What's next for you?
What's next is really what's right in front of me. That's what I've learned from this whole process, is to just look literally what's in front of me. I'll go have breakfast now. But in terms of, I've been doing a lot of photography, a lot of nature photography, because that's been really good medicine for me and a good therapy. And I also am starting working on a new film, a feature film, which will be a non-documentary. It will be a narrative film. This film took me 8 years to complete, so I'd like to make another film in a quarter of that time. Would be great. So,
well, hopefully you have the sponsors and people to help you out with.
There's always a way. That's the motto that's even on the DVD of my film, and that's the motto of Arrangiarsi: is there's always a way.
Absolutely. To you, big Was from Baltimore. Bachi, Bachi.
Grazie.
And stay well, stay healthy, and thank you so much. And I'm just going to follow up on a couple of things for the people.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Matteo.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you.
On a sad note, after a sudden and short illness, we recently lost Martha Thomas, who for the past 12 years or so has called Baltimore her home. Martha was a scribe in the true sense of the word. She was a journalist and a storyteller. There are two different animals, but she did both so well. With her words, she lifted those in the food community to heights so they could be seen by many. Just the tip of her career. Martha was the editor of Sip and Savor, Her Mind, Style, BSO, Baltimore Zagat, World Life Fund magazines as editor, different positions as editors, freelance for AARP magazine, Architectural Digest, Washington Post, City Paper, and many others. She was a professional journalism instructor at the University of Maryland. For those who know her, a memorial will be held June 26 at 11 a.m. at Brand Memorial Presbyterian Church. She is already missed. Sincere condolences to her family and friends. I just want to remind you to take the show on the road. Your walks, your runs, dig into our archives, enjoy it from J Moore's Facebook page or jmooreliving.com's page. You can find many of the past episodes with Stephen Reichlin, Natalie Dupree, Elizabeth Faulkner, and your favorite local as well. If you need me, you can reach me on social at Dara Cooks and emails food@jmooreliving.com. We love it when you share the show with family and friends. There'll be no show next week. I'll be returning on June 17th, talking tequila with the folks from El Sativo Tequila. Thanks again to Matteo for an enlightening chat. See you in 2 weeks. And as always, may your plates remain full. Thank you for joining us.